All right, so let's talk about continuous integration. So up to this point, the process for you to go from you writing a piece of a line of code, all the way down up to deploying this on Heroku, for the most part, everything has been manual, right? It's your responsibility to have a working environment, your own feature branch. You do commits, you push, you create pull requests. Somebody, you run your tests locally. You then once you're confident, you give your PR to a colleague. They merge it, and then it makes its way to Heroku. So there's some steps in there that are fairly not redundant. They're that we would like to automate, right? For instance, every time you do a commit, right? One of the things that we might want to do is that we automatically kick off a build, right? That verifies that all your tests run, that you didn't break anything, and then you want immediate notification if you inadvertently cause something to break, and also one of the things that we might want to do is be notified as early as possible if something went wrong, right? So that we can minimize any anxiety that we might have of whether knowing that something runs locally on our machine, but will it run when this is deployed on a remote server where other teams are working on that same machine. So as Martin Fowler says, continuous integration doesn't get rid of bugs, but it makes it so much easier to find them and remove them, right? So it enhances the process, the overall process of dealing with the deployment and delivery of applications. There's a set of do's and don'ts and attitudes and techniques that we need to become familiar with and comfortable with to achieve a good process that can automate much of this grudgery, so that it can improve the overall efficiency of the team. So we have installed a Jenkins instance. Jenkins is the software that we're going to be using to help us implement continuous integration. The URL is listed here. It's 4500jenkins.cciscloud.com. If you could please go there and create an account. At first, you might not have any authority to do anything. The TAs that are assigned to your particular organization, they're going to give you the right permissions so that you can start working on it. Okay. What we'll ask you to do is to create a ticket and assign it to your TA with a list of all 9 students that are in the same organization. Right, and you will provide the usernames that you use to create your accounts on Jenkins. Please use the same account names that you used for CCIS, right? So that we have a one-to-one mapping on the same folks in the same team and the same organization. And what the TAs are going to do is that they're going to create a folder on Jenkins that will have the name of your organization, right? And they're going to assign privileges so that the entire team will have access to this one folder. Right? And inside of that folder, you can do whatever you want. Right? You can create any number of pipelines and jobs and whatnot that we will be asking you to create going forward. And so the TAs are going to do that, right? So you need to provide them with a list of all the usernames. Let's see. I'm going to ask you for patience as we set up the permissions and the folders for you. The same kind of pain points that we had setting up Jenkins. I think we might need to expect that as well as we set up Jenkins for the next week or so. The first couple of things we'll ask you to do are some really simple hello world things on Jenkins just to see that it's working, that you have access to GitHub. All that needs to be configured, right? You'll need tokens from GitHub so that we can give access to Jenkins to go out and actually check out content from GitHub. So again, this couple of weeks, just bear with us as we set all that up. All right. So yes.
When would the stuff that we have to start doing with Jenkins, when would that be due? Registering?
Registering, it'll be part of the upcoming assignment.
Assignment 7?
Yeah, it's not out yet. For the Jenkins.
So
Yeah, the Jenkins assignment is not out yet.
Okay.
Yeah. It will start this upcoming Friday. It'll be out this Friday, and it'll be due the following Friday. But if you could start setting up the accounts now, be as much as you can, get a head start on that. We can start learning about some of the things. We haven't found any weirdness up to this point, but once we have 80 folks trying to hit it at the same time, then what's easy for one certainly might not be easy for lots of folks. All right, so continuous integration. Sometimes we make the distinction of whether it's continuous integration, delivery, deployment, and it oftentimes refers to the fact that we often have not just one environment in an enterprise setting. We might have multiples, right? You have certainly your local development environment. You have an environment where you do your tests, where you commit and everybody deploys into that same test environment, where perhaps some QA folks might come in and do some manual testing, some smoke testing, and once that is accepted, we promote that to the next level of some stage testing, where a stage machine where perhaps some clients might come in and do some user acceptance testing, and we open it up to a broader audience for testing. Maybe we do some performance testing and whatnot, and some integration testing, and then finally, when if everything goes well, we promote that even to a production environment. So depending on how much you use the tools and strategies to automate this entire pipeline, right? We often refer to it as either continuous integration if you're just going to the test environment, staging, delivery, or deployment if your entire pipeline goes all the way to production. Lots of benefits from continuous integration. Certainly, I would encourage you if you're going on interviews to always not only do they want to know if you're a good fit, you want to know if they're a good fit for you. And if one of the measures of a company that it's mature, that it's it will be that whether they have a continuous integration or not, right? That how easy is it to go from committing something into the repository all the way to production? How easy is it? What is the process? Ask. Make yourself interested in asking what is the process that they follow, and maybe you can have some of your own opinions on what the process might be, or maybe talk about your own experience through a continuous integration. Certainly is a very valued skill to have, especially working in large teams. Oftentimes your continuous integration is very useful for minimizing the anxiety that folks have of knowing whether something that runs locally in your own environment, whether it's eventually going to work when you deploy it in a remote environment, right? And we want to make sure that we don't have the attitude that we're content that it works in our local machine, right? That we don't have the attitude that if it breaks in the remote machine, we say, well, I don't care, it works on my machine, right? That we have to make sure that we own the entire process, right? We own the entire pipeline, right? We make ourselves responsible for that. That if we check in something and it's merged, we don't just go home, right? We make sure that the build system picked it up, that it ran the test, right? That it was accepted, that it was merged into master, and then it made its way to staging or QA or whatever environment we were targeting, right? That it went well, and then once we're confident that it made it there, we do some smoke testing, then we go home, right? That we own the entire process. Right, a lot of other benefits, right? That we catch these some of these integration tests earlier, right? That ideally we would be in an environment where a feature that was just implemented, that we have it so broken up into small valued user value that it would go all the way up to production. That we have deliveries every single day. We deploy every single day, right? That whatever the production folks are using, our clients, they are always using the very latest. Right? Usually this is not the case. Usually companies have much longer deployment schedules. It could be a month, could be several months. Some companies bring it down to every couple of weeks, or maybe every week perhaps, right? But ideally it could be every day. Why not have the very latest go out to production, right? And so again, how much your company has been able to automate this entire pipeline, right? Is whether are you deploying all the way through to production every single day, right? Or are you perhaps going all the way to test, but everything else is manual, right? Where you have to ask for system ops to do the final part, right? Of doing some manual parts to actually bring it all the way to production. Right? So again, it's something interesting for you to ask your potential employer. Some of the practices that we automate the builds, we make things automated tests, right? That every time we commit something and we have a pull request from someone, that whoever's responsible for merging our PRs, they should challenge us and say, hey, I see you wrote these couple of functions. Where's the test for those functions, right? Can you demo this for me? Did you run it and did it pass all the tests? Maybe I'll clone it and I'll run the test myself locally on my machine, right? And so an attitude that the code belongs to everyone, and that the code should not make it into master, if it's not been accepted by the whole team, and that there is a much higher level of auditing and ownership. That if the tests fail, we know why it failed, right? It's because of this particular commit, right? And everybody will get a notification either by email or text or Slack saying the build failed, help, come and fix it, right? And that gives more visibility of what's going on, and it's not a surprise that all of a sudden the build failed, right? That everybody's blocked, waiting for someone else to fix this. So certainly, if you are merging something, you are making yourself responsible for that, right? It says if this breaks the build, it's your fault, right? So it's kind of spreading out the responsibility across the team. Achieving continuous integration, you're going to check out the code into your own feature branches, and the continuous integration monitors whenever you check in something. Usually what we're going to do is that we're going to protect the master branch, so that only if it's in the master branch, we consider that to be going out to production, right? And only if all tests passes, and if there's no regression tests that fail, then we are going to allow this to go into master, right? And so that we don't have inadvertent breaking something that was we knew that worked at some point, and all of a sudden it's not. Okay. Right. So the continuous integration will alert the team if something went wrong, and the team would fix it until the build is up and running again, and we just continuously integrate this process. A couple of do's and don'ts. We check in frequently. Our check-ins are small, right, so that we can always backtrack if we see something went in that we know it's broken. We can easily undo that one particular set of pieces of line of code or function. That it's a unit that you can backtrack to something that was stable before that. That we don't check in broken code. That we run all the tests locally. That we don't check in something that breaks the build. And if you check in something, you should wait until the whole process goes through, right, and makes it into QA or the next environment. We don't just go home, without caring what the build does.